Hello, Sofia from California. How are you?
Hello, Yigal from San Monorom, Cambodia.
Yes.
All is well over here, and as I see from your beautiful face, all is well over there, yes?
Sounds like it's perfect. I don't know more than that. Moment by moment as it is.
Yeah, this is what I heard from you 10 years ago when we met for what seems to be the first time, and that's what I want to touch on at first. So the intention for this conversation is to meet again in 10 years and revisit some of the seeds that got planted back then and how they sprouted for me in being
Okay.
and in you.
So you have to remind me because I delete all these moments. So remind me what was it
Okay.
fun
Yeah.
for me to
So,
share.
yeah, that's actually, I thought about that. And I thought that a couple of things really imprinted in me since I met you 10 years ago in this lifetime. And that is that when I met you, I felt this very specific quality about you that was very uh, silencing me, silencing my mind, and turning my mind towards curiosity of what is this about? What is this silence? And I remember one of the few things that really touched me was a writing that you shared with me from Ramana Maharishi, and it started with, "In everyone there is an observed love for themselves." And then another thing that really stayed with me since 10 years ago is the contrast between change and unchanging. And since my intention is to have a series of conversations with you that touch upon all these various experiential aspects of human experience, I want to start with that. I want to start with how 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 is it that we all have this love for ourselves, and how does that relate to the change and the changeless? That's
Mhm.
what came up to me as I was thinking about today's conversation with you.
Great. Sounds good. I see that two things is to reflect together, and all the people are watching us right now. Is I hear Sophia is sharing about love and change. So I see to reflect what is love, to really understand and experience what is the nature of love, what is the cause of love, the effect of love, the fruit of love, what is love for us, how we connect to love and use love, receiving love, giving love. What is love when you hear this word love?
For me, love is a knowing that I have known ever since I remember myself. And I can say that there is love for different things, like love for nature, love for a spring of water or an animal, um, love for the sunset or sunrise or beautiful colors or yummy food. And also, there is a love for something that's beyond all these things that I can't quite name. It's a love for something that I know is there, but I don't maybe have a clear, concrete name or form for it. It's more like the love is there because it's there, not for anything. But then sometimes objects become the objects of love. But the love is something that feels like it lives here. So that's how I experience it.
That's nice. Uh, when I ask what is love, what come to me right away is to find out the love that I experience or the love that I think as a thought is dependent on something.
No.
No. So if the love is not depending on something, so it's nothing to do with the movement of I love you, or I love this event, or I love this feeling, because it's come to the next focus of change. Because if love is change, is it a true love? Is it an eternity love if it's constant change?
What appears to me right now is that I think most people experience love as an emotion on the emotional level, and as an emotion, which means as an upwelling of this sense of, overwhelming by sweetness and merging and melting, this sense of connection and bonding. This is something that comes and goes.
Yes.
And only now, lately, more and more, I'm getting in touch with a kind of understanding of love as a form of attention, or as a form of presence, as a being. It's almost like so much awareness that it's enough to be love. But it's not directed towards anything. It's more like a place. But this place only opened up for me lately. Up until now, or recently, love for me has been more of a movement.
Yes. So it's a feelings. It's, if I understand you correctly, it's the emotion, the feeling that connect to something or someone, movement.
Yeah, or even to my own experience, to quality of my own experience, but it's still something that arises and passes away.
And we can even call it pleasure. It's feel like a pleasure.
It feels like pleasure, yeah.
So it's a sensation, it's a feelings, it's pleasure. And this is, we can start to see this is love that we attach to a change and to temporary love, dependent on something. Because when something is happened to the mind or to us, and the mind doesn't like the sensation, the mind will turn this love to hate.
Absolutely.
Because
I can confirm that.
The sensation is negativity in the body, and I don't like it, and I want to push it away. So that's why I don't call it anymore love. But what will happen if for a moment all of us be able to see that everything that happened in this moment through our five senses, it is as it is. And we change this concept to love, to joy, to present, just as a language, bridging the language on how can I tap into love that it's not changing and not affected by anything. And is it possible while I'm functioning during the day to make it simple and practical? Because I don't see contradiction. I see that there is a temporary love that we can enjoy and appreciate. No need to attach to it because it comes and goes. If we will be attached to something that it's temporary and we want it more, and then we have the opposite of it, unpleasant sensation, which we call it pain, or I hate it, then I'm running after love and not be able to connect love from the source of love. Yeah? Because the source of love cannot change. There's always energy here. And if we call energy as love, not high energy, low energy, just aliveness of this energy as love, then we can recognize this love. Then the extra love, I call it, will comes and goes, and it's perfectly all right.
I remember that as well. One of the things that imprinted in me from the past was an expression that said, I am whole and you and everyone else is extra. Great, but I am whole. But all of that sounds nice. And even when I heard it, it sounded wonderful. And I wanted to experience that. But for a while, I couldn't. And sometimes still I can't experience it that way. And so here are our listeners hearing it. And of course, feeling the beauty of experiencing life in such a whole way, but sometimes we are not able to, and sometimes we are attached. So
Correct.
how
And
to approach this moment when I'm hurting, I'm attached, I want something so badly, and I am hurting because, let's say, I'm feeling like I'm not worthy, or I'm feeling abandoned, or I'm feeling rejected. I feel like I cannot let go of this and treat the moment with joy. Where is the love in that moment?
this is a great practical question, because as long as it's theory and the practicality, the actuality is different, there is a gap and there is a frustration.
Yeah.
That, yeah, it sounds good, I read it a lot, but how can I put it into use? And it's a great beginning of changing our attitude. Because the first step of awakening moment is to acknowledge and be aware that I am attached. And then in another discussion, we will talk about what is attachment. And you can write it down that slowly you see how all the parts that appears to be separate slowly with clarity will come to a one picture, and seeing that anyone here right now that watching us might connect very much to the theory of what we are talking about, but when it comes to daily life, they are not able to put it into use. And I say it's fine, because that's the conversation in this moment. That's the purpose of this conversation, is start to plant the seed to bring doubts in the mind. Am I really experiencing love? And how come I am attached to the love? And how come I cannot control love? And what's happening when I wake up in the morning and I have a lot of hate? And all this discussion will allow the mind to start to ask questions. So the first steps is being aware that something is off balance, off center. Then the mind will start to ask, okay, if I'm feeling frustration, I'm attached to the future outcome. Right now, I don't like my sensation. So the basic thing I will say is, first of all, come back to the body, because body is functioning in this moment. The functioning of the body does not need to have a mental discussion. You don't have to tell yourself to breathe. You don't have to tell yourself to talk. It's just happening, part of the knowledge of the mind. So if we all right now notice, when we stop speaking for a moment, sometimes we have a gap between the physical noise. There is a noise of sound that the mind is talking to himself. Blah, 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 blah. About the past, probably about the future. So when I notice, when I wake up for this moment, and it's only moment by moment, that I'm not connecting to my body. I'm not connecting to the senses as it is, not to the breath as it is. It will be very challenging for me to observe attachment, to observe the cycle of the thoughts, because I don't have a reference point. In order to able to observe the change, I need to anchor part of my mind that observing the mind to be still. And when the body is still or slowing down, this part of the mind starts to awaken, and I call it intellect. Basically can see movement, not movement, fast, slow, discernment.
Wonderful. Can you demonstrate for just a minute or two how one would begin in such a slowing down and beginning to discern?
First of all, when I notice that I have a stress or I'm feeling worried about something or my breath getting faster, tension in the body, or voice arise, it's just a calling for me to slow down. So a practical way, it doesn't matter where I will be, which time and which place, it's not limited. I just have to remind myself to slow down. Whatever I do, I just have to tell myself, stop, slow it down. Sometimes you connect to one of the five senses, either to the hearing, or you focus on one object with your eyes, you follow your breath, you're feeling your chest. Whenever it's recognized, whenever it's working for oneself, and one recognizes that that's the way, because in the beginning, the process is to awaken the intellect within ourselves. So enough that I plant the seed right now, for all of us that watching right now, when they start to recognize, oh, I have a doubt, before I didn't pay attention, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm fasting now, or my mind is worrying about the future. So that's how the intellect starts to wake up. There is a different exercise to really put it into use, and we will go over it later. But for right now, to see that it's working right now, if anyone go back to the breath or the movement of the mouth and really pay attention here, or sitting and feeling your back, just coming back and connect to your body at that moment, part of the mind starts to be awake between the experience of the body and there is experience of the thought about the body or about the past or about the future. So slowly we want to see the tiny gap between what I experience right now and what I think about what now or what in the past or in the future. That's how I start a very tiny, minor attention.
So what I hear is that there is almost like a discernment between the body. Being aware of the body means awareness from inside, immediate, and then awareness of the body as if from outside, from a place of thought. And what it reminds me of is in my practice of Tai Chi, I came to realize that the reason why Tai Chi is practiced in a slow manner is to give an opportunity to the individual to learn what movement is composed of, the whole architecture of movement. Because when one has practiced Tai Chi for a while, then one can move fast and it's all still with the center. So what I hear you say is before even evaluating movement, to slow down and to inquire what the movement is in the moment. What is the composition? What is the gap? Yes?
Yes, I just even sharper the point that first don't separate anything inside, outside. What I said that look at the body slowing down and be aware of it as it is. Okay? So it's like Tai Chi, no different. Tai Chi is the way of living. It is not a form. It's not a time. So the moment the mind is follow the body and the body is slowing down, the mind will slow down, and then there is a gap, that there is a part in the mind that can say, I am aware, because it's all mind. But when the mind going fast, the mind is not conscious. He's just moving unconsciously. So same with the body. When you move fast, you're not conscious of the complete movement. But when you start to move slower, you start to pay attention on every detail. And you become more aware, which is our nature. It's not that you become aware, it's just you become unaware that before we were unaware. Yes? It's like becoming aware, it's not really an action. It's just not being aware, start to slow down and drop, because everything is here as it is. And there is everything that I am aware, I am aware.
I see that the next curiosity is to explore what is it that we call mind and how it connects to I am aware. A little funny example is I went to an appointment today that had a pain element to it. And each time the pain stimulus happened, I would say to myself, I am aware. And every time I said I'm aware, the pain was no longer pain. And I would love to explore this with you next time. I think that for this time, we will keep it to 30 minutes. And I just want to repeat and underline what we journeyed through today, which was very spontaneous. We didn't plan it. We just dove into it. And what came up was whatever is happening in the moment, to slow down to the speed of the body sensation. And as the mind slows down, to align with what the body feels like and experiences. Maybe use the breath and sensations. And then to explore what is actually happening. And as we slow down to close this journey, what do you see as we become still? What is next from that?
It's correct. Basically, that summarized the meeting today, and it's just allowed everyone to see that anyone that have a doubt or something appears not working for their life, and they like to explore it and to share it, and together, that's what I see. This meeting is not about me guiding anyone to know, to learn, because the knowledge is within everyone. What this meeting does, it just trigger or remind both of us together to turn the light on and see the movement as it is. So we are not longer identified with what we are not, or basically what we think we are. And that's the process. So for today's meeting, it's great because for the next meeting, we will see what, if you write down the points, and for the next meeting, like you sit with yourself for a few minutes and see, okay, what are the questions or that you want to ask us, that we all, not only both of us, anyone that watching the tape, see if you can be part of it and not just listening to the speaker. It is not a lecture. It's basically, it's like we are together, investigate to find what is as it is. And every time this is the attitude of the investigation, it's a miracle. It's unknown. It's revealed by itself, because any conversation, include this conversation, it reminds me what I already forgot, because when the conversation is finished, I'm back to here. Here, five senses, feelings, and etc. There's no so much thinking with time when you come back and connect the mind to reality, to what is as it is. And that's what I can summarize. What is love? What is the change? It's a very ordinary, we overlook this ordinary love, ordinary change. It is what it is. And we are one with this. There's no separation. So when there is an experience of oneness with love, with the change, with anything, then there is a sense of being conscious, and there is a joy. And that's how I can summarize this meeting for today. I very much appreciate your knowledge and the flavor that comes for you, and I trust that people that are watching us right now, they can activate something within themselves. And I invite anyone, don't be shy. It's not about talking about your personality or finding if you're good or bad. It's just to create this energy, synergy, that more people can really together, and eventually we will do it more than two people. We do it once a week today at 2 o'clock, that we can, instead of me answer questions to people and thinking that I know better than anyone else, which in fact, we as a humanity know everything. We just have to remind each other and go and dive in together.
Thank you for this space. And what I noticed is that when you said joy, I realized many times before and again today that joy is not something I create. Joy is not something I achieve. Mm-hmm. Joy arises when I connect to the immediacy, which in other words is the truth of whatever is here. And joy arises as a result of that, as a joy of being. I'm happy to share that with you today. Thank you. And with everyone else, thank you for being here. Thank.
Great.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be here, to be part of this inquiry. And I invite also everyone to bring their immediacy to this field. I look forward to the next time. And maybe, as you said, people can write down their questions, what they want to make part of the inquiry, because the dialectic inquiry brings something that by myself, I almost cannot do. Something activates.
Yes.
So thank you for this.
That's a nice closing to, if people ask themselves, why should I do that? It's too spiritual. It's not about you should or shouldn't. It's about if you want to connect to yourself, to this moment. That's what we do here as a human being. We remind each other to connect and be in a most ordinary way, simple way. So I wish you a beautiful night for you. For me, it's a lovely Sunday day. And I'll talk to you when I talk to you again. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Om Maya Om.